Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Here we go. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Dice has the sign. He collects the 3-2 pitch. Strike 3 called. Casey Dice finishes it for Nebraska. The dog pile is on. The Nebraska Cornhuskers have run the table and run it back. Back-to-back Big Ten tournament champions. With the guardian angel watching over this team, Nebraska runs through the field here in Omaha and have earned themselves a regional bid. Nebraska knocks off their second-ranked opponent in as many days. The Cornhuskers shut out the 13th-ranked Bruins 5-0 after 8 masterful innings from Ty Horn.
Now, here are your hosts, Jessica Coody and Nick Hanley, on the Huskers Radio Network.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome into Sports Nightly, this Thursday night edition. I'm Jessica Coody. I'm actually in Oklahoma. Nick Hanley joining us from North Carolina. So this is like coast to coast here tonight on Sports Nightly. But before we dive into all things Husker baseball, we've got some football times announced. Did want to give a shout out to Matt Coody, who filled in for me last night, kind of last minute, on a last minute notice, so that I could go to Game 5 of the Western Conference Series to watch the Thunder clinch and punch their ticket to the NBA Finals. So shout out Matt Coody. And Nick, I've been trying to tell you people that the Oklahoma City Thunder were this team's different. And people didn't want to hear me out. Emmett Johnson didn't want to hear me out. Intern Jake didn't want to hear me out. But I knew this team was special, and we were back in the NBA Finals.
I want to know now how many more of the SGA commercials are we going to have to say of the What a Pro Wants that was running like ad nauseum in the NCAA tournament for the last couple of years. But I'm sure that's only going to grow with the Chet and the SGA commercials there too. You're right, and I hope again that you had the last word in on Emmett Johnson, because I know you guys were going back and forth. So hopefully you close that book and that he will maybe jump on the Thunder bandwagon with you.
I don't think he told me he's done with basketball after last night. So he told me it's football season now. So he's done watching basketball for the year. But no, I mean, I was texting you about this, and look, I feel like I have a good enough kind of perspective on this when I say this. And Nebraska fans are second to none, there's no doubt. And I will say Oklahoma fans, for like their college sports, I don't think are as diehard, as into, I guess, as good of representation as, I don't think they compare to Nebraska. I'll just say that on the college level. But the Thunder level, that's a different story. That was that was the craziest sporting atmospheres I've ever been. And the NBA is different because it's kind of like a club scene. They've got strobe lights and a DJ, music playing throughout the entire game. But that atmosphere was unlike any other, and it was just kind of crazy. Like, I found myself thinking at the end of the game when they were presenting the trophy, a lot of the things that the Thunder players were saying live to the arena were a lot of the things that you hear Nebraska players saying about their atmospheres that they're providing. There's no doubt about it. You cannot argue any way about it that the fact that home crowd advantage plays an advantage in sports. I mean, it just does. No doubt. I mean, this is, I think, one of the many reasons, but definitely a reason why Nebraska is out here in Raleigh, North Carolina for the regional, because of the home crowd factor that made their way over to Charles Schwab Field for the Big Ten tournament. And even those series that Nebraska had to win at Haymarket Park, softball, with the crowd that they got at Bullen Stadium. There's no question. And I'll say this too. Just trying to watch some of the game last night when Ben and I were having dinner, but also I go back to the days when Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. I know, he who shall not be named. But, those atmospheres in the playoffs, too. Oklahoma City always just looked like a very lively, electric, energetic environment. And I remember talking to Brian Windhorst not that long ago, who, for some people don't realize, lives in Omaha. Brian Windhorst does. And he said that
Oklahoma City from a playoff atmosphere, he said there was no question that was without, I mean, just not even close. There wasn't anything that even rivaled it. That was the most electric playoff atmosphere when Oklahoma City had it going. So I think that's pretty high praise right there. So that's pretty awesome that not only you got to be in the thick of it, but you got to see the clincher and to see if this team can indeed get that ring, because that is pretty neat.
Yeah, it was awesome. I didn't know. Look, you can't expect a 30-point blowout. I didn't think it was going to be that. I had a good feeling that they were going to clinch, but I didn't know it was going to be that dominant. But, man, they set the tone from the start. So, again, I was glad to be able to be there. Thanks again to Matt Coatney for helping us out and allowing me to be able to do that, because you were traveling, obviously. So how's the vibes been? We're going to dive into all of that. I know you got a chance to chat with Coach Bolt. Also, Ty Horn, we're going to hear from those conversations here coming up in just a little bit. But how's the travel been? What's the vibes like right now?
Travel was smooth. Got here a little bit earlier than expected. Took off a little earlier than expected. Had a nice, I think we all had our own rows to ourselves, too, in the plane. You know, I mean, it was
love
great.
that. I love the postseason travel unlike any other.
Yes, it's luxurious to say the very least. Yeah, got here at a decent hour. Still had a chance to get Chapel Hill. They're all basically within 15 to 20 minutes of each other. That they also got some barbecue sauce that they were all very excited. And Ty Horn actually said that there's a team dinner going on tonight. Ty Horn might bring his barbecue sauce because he's hoping there's going to be some chicken tenders at the team dinner, that he wants to use the barbecue sauce they got at the practice. But no, I just think that this is where they thought they would be. Obviously the path here was a lot different than what they envisioned back in February, but I think they feel at home here. I think this is exactly the spot that they planned on being in, and despite some injuries and some guys that are still not available for this weekend, I think that this team feels exactly where they feel like they're where they should be, and I think they're acting as such. It's still a very loose. This team has always been a very loose group. They're fun to be around, and you just don't sense any tightness, but you also don't sense any satisfaction of, okay, we did this a year ago. That was cool. We got the Big Ten tournament. Nobody thought we would. We're satisfied with that. I think coming up short last year in the NCAA tournament, I think this still burns this team a little bit. So Riley Silva said it on Monday. I think they're very determined to have a long stay out here in Durham or in Chapel Hill.
So I guess a couple things, but one of the big things I took away from that is Ty Horn a picky eater or something. Does he only eat chicken fingers or something?
Well, I mean, I can't speak poorly on Ty Horn after the gem that he threw against UCLA, but like, what are you, man? What are you 8 years old? You know, is it just chicken fingers, nothing? I mean, like my 4-year-old is like right there with you. He wants chicken fingers, and that's
Whatever
it. So.
Ty Horn needs to eat at this point, go ahead and eat it.
Absolutely. Whatever fuels those 8-inning shutout gems. It could be chicken fingers. It could be Spam. I don't care what it is. Just, feed that man what he wants.
So, are you a toffee guy? I'm not a huge toffee person. I feel like that's kind of like is that not an old people deal?
Oh, well. Let's see if
no shots intended. I
know. I don't mind. I don't mind a Heath bar in my Blizzard if I'm getting a Blizzard from like Dairy Queen. But yeah, I'm not like a straight up. What's that?
A Heath bar in Blizzard?
Oh yeah. Have you ever had it?
No, because I do like Oreos or Snickers.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't strictly. I'm not exclusive to Heath bars, but I've had a Heath Blizzard a time or two in my life, and it's pretty good. But I don't seek out a Heath bar where I'm like, hey, I'm having candy, like during Halloween, like looking through my kid's bag to see if he's got Heath bars. No, I'm not, like that. But I'll every now and then I will opt for the Heath bar Blizzard for sure.
Not me, but props to you, I guess. So if you're going to the gas station and you need a sweet treat, what are you going for?
I can't go wrong with. I'm a classic Reese's peanut butter cup guy.
basic, I guess.
Yeah, it's basic. It's a solid
Classic.
go-to.
It's a classic.
It's a go-to. You're not going to go wrong with it.
I'm more of like a gummy, like a Nerds, like the Nerds gummy clusters.
Those are good. Yeah.
It's kind of been what I've been on to here recently.
I do like so, and again, with having Reese around, with now that he's really into candy and all the different holidays where it feels like that's all he ever gets, he brings home a lot of Sour Patch Kids stuff, and I forgot how much I really like Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah. Okay, well, getting back on track, I guess that was one of the things that, you talked about the team kind of learning from being there last time, and I asked you about this the other night, but just maybe a letdown. When you come off an emotional win going through a tournament like you did, I don't know if that was maybe what played into last year, but I do think that's maybe I think that's a good thing that you brought up, just a good point that, okay, there's kind of maybe a different mindset going in, because I think that is one of the things maybe you battle when you go through an emotional run through a tournament of turning it back on and thinking, okay, we still have to rev that back up again and give that kind of effort again here in back-to-back weekends. Well,
and it's funny how we were talking about the Big Ten tournament format, and essentially I think everyone's angst was the tiebreaker situation. And thankfully, Nebraska did not have to be a victim of that. But the positive for all the teams that advanced into the NCAA tournament from the conference is that you didn't have to overdo it. Nebraska had to win 5 games in Omaha a year ago, play 6 total in Omaha a year ago, where I think they were gassed a little bit going up to Stillwater, and they felt like it was a pretty quick turnaround. You just put everything on the line to try to get into that Sunday game and then to beat Penn State and win that Big Ten championship. I mean, it's an amazing feeling, and you're so happy you did it. But let's be honest, Nebraska already knew they were in the NCAA tournament going into the Big Ten tournament. So they could have gone 2-Q, and they're still probably solidly in the NCAA tournament, but that team had no desire to just mail it in and get ready for the NCAA tournament. I mean, they wanted to go on a run. They did that. So I also wonder how much effort that they put forth, the amount of games that they had to play in such a short amount of time that week, all the way to the championship, if that did tax them a little bit going into that Stillwater Regional. This year, you get 4 games. And it was interesting because Nebraska, as we know, they played Tuesday. Then they didn't play till Saturday. Now, mind you, they had to play 2 on Saturday, but then 1 Sunday. So essentially you had 4 games spread out over a week's time, where I think you feel a little bit more rested. You feel a little bit more fresh than probably what you did a year ago as well.
And I was going to ask you a bit about this, but you just get the sense that Will Bolt really likes this group for as maybe frustrating, or I guess as a head coach at times when you go through a season like this and you know the potential going into it, and there are times that you're like, oh gosh, what's not clicking, what's not working. But I think it really feels like he really enjoys being around this group, and that it's a different group. But I guess what I'm getting at is, we're going to hear from him here coming up this next segment, is that, I don't know, it seems like he's having a lot of fun with this group and to be on this stage with this group in particular.
And I think you're right. And I think there's probably a little bit deeper respect for what they have ultimately overcome to get back here. Last year, there were the midweek games, and we all know that was well documented that Nebraska struggled mightily in the midweek, but they were really good on the weekend slates in conference play. And I think you really had to get in the weeds to nitpick a lot at that team last year. And this year, that entire month of March was a struggle. And then even when Nebraska, if you remember, where they come back from California, then they play Oregon State the following weekend and get that huge series win against Oregon State, and they have 2 really tough games against Creighton and Omaha where they lose those 2, sloppy baseball as well. So there was a little bit of that, okay, what is this team? There'd be that positive step forward, but then a couple of steps back. And so what are we looking at here? And I think we'll always had that expectation about this team, that this team could be very, very special. But are they going to have that opportunity to prove that on the national stage in the postseason. And the fact that they turned it around at the right time, once the schedule did lighten up for Nebraska, it's one thing for it to lighten up. It's another thing to be able to do something about it, that this team wasn't so defeated from the previous series that they continued to keep their head afloat and tackle those games. I think it's only natural to earn a little bit more respect when you do that, when you turn it around a little bit, when you don't let the previous weeks or even month defeat you, where you continue to have that type of resolve. I think everybody gravitates to stories like that, and I don't think it surprised Will that much, but I think to see this team start to play to its potential and to maybe fulfill that destiny a little bit that I know this coaching staff felt for this team, I think that definitely has earned a little bit more of their respect to this group. Not that they didn't respect them before, but I think when you're seeing those guys get constantly on the short end of some of those games, that it'd only be natural to start to let that get into your head a little bit to where it affects how you play the next game, and this team just simply didn't do that.
Awesome. Good stuff there. All right, we're going to hear more from the head coach, Will Bolt, coming up on the other side of this. Nick had a chance to catch up with him after practice today, so we're going to hear his perspective going into this regional, going to take on Oklahoma here coming up tomorrow afternoon. We're going to dive into that matchup here in a little bit. Also talk some football game times that have been set. We now know 6 of the 12 for Husker football, so dive into a little bit of that. So still plenty to come here on Sports Nightly here tonight, so keep it locked in right here. Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. All right, coming up next, Will Bolt with Nick coming up right after this.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Command the road in your new vehicle from Woodhouse GMC. Save up to $8,250 off MSRP on the 2025 GMC Sierra 1500 Crew Cab SLT 4x4. Visit us in-store and online at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. Woodhouse Buick GMC. We are professional grade. With approved credit, must trade a 2011 or newer vehicle to qualify. Offer applies to selected stock numbers. $299 doc fee due at signing. Stock number V250688. Offer expires 6/2/2025.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
In the game of life, we all step up to the plate. Sometimes it feels like we're facing a curveball with no clear path. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the ninth inning. Reach out, speak up, and let's strike out life's challenges together. Because we're more than players, we're a resilient community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every swing, every slide. Play ball. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
If there's one thing Nebraska's known for, it's our beef. And Nebraska soybeans feed a lot of them, and even more pigs and chickens.
I'm Jason Pinky, a farmer near Craig, Nebraska. Soybeans are vital for feeding our livestock, and they're also a powerhouse protein source for people worldwide. Our world needs protein, and Nebraska soybeans are making a difference.
From tailgate grills to global plates, farmers deliver affordable, nutritious protein to build muscle and energy for everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
Welcome back, Sports Nightly here as we get ready for the NCAA Tournament Regional Play out in Chapel Hill. It'll be Nebraska taking on Oklahoma, talking to head coach Will Bolden. Coach, before we even get into the regional play, this path and the emotion, everything that it's been well documented, but you've had some time now between going back to Sunday night, then selection Monday, but also just getting out here to Chapel Hill to reflect a little bit on just what this last week has been like for you. Can you compare it to anything, or any thoughts that still kind of come to mind just thinking about this?
Well, obviously we had a back against the wall run last year to win the tournament, but we felt like we knew we were pretty safely in the NCAAs at that point in time. Our body of work had accounted for that. So this year it was just like a totally different set of circumstances. Knowing you've got to win the tournament to get in, and you got to play your best baseball and get your first 4-game winning streak of the year to be able to do that. So again, all the credit goes to our players and their ability to show up and play their best when it mattered the most. And I really do feel like, though, that the urgency that we felt about 6 weeks ago left in the season allowed us to be in that mind frame of do or die. And so we've been there for a long time. Obviously, it's a very gratifying feeling that a group of young men galvanized together and made a decision to play their best baseball and to play together and to play with a lot of toughness on that type of stage.
I know Ben and I we've been on various radio shows leading up to this week, and that question that people keep bringing up is, was there a turning point that we saw from our broadcast vantage point of where it seemed like this thing was clicking, or if there was a moment of the season that you point to? And I keep going back to those 11 days in California of coming through that, and kind of what you just alluded to there, of this team essentially refusing to allow that to be their fate. Is that, if there is a moment of the season that was that turning point, is there one that sticks out to you?
I think there were several turning points. Obviously, we kind of made some fundamental changes offensively at the tail end of that trip, and I think that's kind of propelled a little bit throughout the year, and we've had some guys step up, especially some veterans that were really struggling up to that point. It was only a matter of time before the water rose to its level. I mean, those guys were good players, good hitters, and they just weren't performing. But they started to flip their mindset, really started focusing on the team and just what they could do to help the team. And I think that, when you've got your older guys that get in that frame of mind, the rest of the group kind of falls into place. So that certainly changed. And I would say probably a late inning heroic moment that maybe really gave us that absolute belief was the Swanson, the walk-off hit against Kansas State. Gabe's been such a big part of a lot of those scenarios for our team. And to come back in that situation and walk them off with the bases loaded down 2, I mean, that was an enormous swing of emotion and swing of momentum for our team to really understand that we could do it. And then we did it several times after that. So a lot of different moments of key individuals stepping up, but collectively the group of upperclassmen coming together really helped.
We talked to you in the beginning of the season, and I know something that you were really excited about was the depth that you guys had. So not only who was going to be starting the game, but who could ultimately finish the game. And we've seen that become a big factor here down the stretch. It always seemed like as you guys were ready to be fully healthy, then something else happened, whether it was Joshua Overbeek or Robbie Bolin in the championship game, and what we saw from Rhett Stokes stepping in for Beek, and really having Max come back from that long illness too. It just seems like, and you've said this to me many times that everybody is they're just sort of really inching for that opportunity and trying to not allow you to take them out of the lineup. It seems like you got a handful of guys that have made that case.
Yeah, and our depth has allowed us to stay in the fight. Make no mistake about it. With the injuries that we've had, just kind of some of the freak stuff that's happened throughout the year, our depth of talent on our roster has allowed us to kind of plug and play some guys and maybe avoid some prolonged slumps on offense and some of those things. And it helped, from the standpoint of having to cover up Tucker and McConaughey's innings on the mound. It allowed some freshmen to get their teeth cut a little bit in live action, and we've really leaned on some of those guys down the stretch. So, yeah, it's just a collective effort, like I said, and I think it's important when you have a team that everybody understands what their role is and their importance to the team, and that allows them to be successful when their name is called, when we do have guys go down, and that's what you've seen over the course of the season.
I want to start talking about a little bit of the staff, because we know when Mason went down, it was figuring out the rotation, how everybody would be altered from not only from the starters but also how the bullpen looked. And then, as we saw Will Walsh so solid early on in those Friday starts, it was Ty and Jackson that would be a little inconsistent. Then as Will starts maybe getting a little bit more over the plate and a little bit more hittable, all of a sudden 2 and 3 become a lot more consistent too. And now it's just kind of worked where you've got all these guys that you can depend on. But, between Tyner's performance on Sunday and what Jackson did against Oregon, I mean, you said it 2 weeks ago that this team is playing their best, but I think it's safe to say the staff is probably firing on all cylinders right now too.
I would say that. I mean, especially, shutting out UCLA and, just pitching under a 3 Ernie, in the tournament, and guys just stepping up and again, the same type thing, right? Like you said, Will really stepped up when we needed him early on and kind of solidified some things and got us deep into some games and helped us kind of save the bullpen. Yeah. Even when we weren't necessarily winning some of those games on Friday, he saved the bullpen. And then, again, that allowed us to, even when we lost those games on Friday, Ty could really feel the urgency necessary to come out and really give us a great start on Saturday, because we're not going to win the series if we don't win that game on Saturday. And then Brockett's just been very consistent. He's been a veteran presence there, and maybe there's times along the way that we could have moved him up in the rotation, but it's kind of hard to do that as the season goes along. It's a lot easier to move guys back and shuffle guys around, plug guys in. But Timmerman, coming back off his injury, again, just covered up another 20-plus innings that we were missing, and allowed, had some great Friday starts for us, started a game, in the tournament, came out of the bullpen. Guys just selfless and being willing to do what it takes.
I remember one of the source of frustrations when we go back to that time in March was in Big Ten play, averaging around 3 runs a game, and we saw that really step up. And you go into that Big Ten tournament and knowing that you have this amazing support system behind you with the Nebraska fans, especially in that Oregon game, that UCLA game, getting on those teams early. But then even when some of the runs weren't coming across the plate late in the game, continuing to put pressure on those staffs, it just seems like that's a big difference from this offense now to where it was 2 months ago.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's just more things to kind of get the dugout excited, the fan base to get excited. Just some different guys have stepped up and played well and some of those things. So, yeah, just from the standpoint of where we were early in the season, we were playing a lot of road games, first of all. 19 of the first 24 on the road, with some kind of adverse conditions at certain places and some of those things. So, again, just finding a way to just stay afloat until we could get back home and then kind of get settled in with our pitching staff. I've made a ton of comments, about how awesome our fans have been. 9 straight wins at Charles Schwab Field. We certainly have the home field advantage there, and a lot of these teams aren't necessarily used to playing in front of a lot of fans. So, big difference maker for us.
It's been a fun ride, but this is a business trip, obviously, in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and getting ready to take on Oklahoma. I know this is an interesting regional because when you look at these teams, sometimes one might bring in the glaring offensive prowess. Others might have solid staffs. It seems like if there's one commonality these are good contact hitting teams, but nobody maybe slugs it at an overwhelming standpoint compared to some like a UCLA or Oregon, some really good pitching staffs. What do you just see as the overall challenge, especially starting with Oklahoma tomorrow?
Yeah, they're going to be very athletic offensively, well over 100 stolen bases. They're going to go first to third. They're going to push the envelope with their leads over at first base, bunting for a base hit. They certainly have guys in the lineup that can hurt you. I know they've had a couple of guys have been out with injuries that they're hoping to get back. So certainly going to present that challenge for us on the mound. And then, we know we're facing a right-hander that runs the ball up to 100 miles an hour, and he's got 4 pitches that he can throw. Going to be a really high draft pick this year, and they've got a strong pitching staff. I mean, Coach Johnson over there has been a pitching guru for years and years, so going to be a big challenge. And that's the only thing we're really focused on right now is that challenge with Oklahoma, trying to figure out a way to be the tougher team on Friday.
If you look at, I know everyone asks you this question of, how do you approach this compared to other games? And I would assume the answer is simple, and that's we do the same thing, especially the same thing that you've seen the last the last month that led to 5 Big Ten series wins and that run in Omaha here this last week.
Yeah, and that's where you want to get to. You want to get to that point where every day is that important to where you don't really put more emphasis or energy into any other. So we just need to stay right where we're at. I'll do my best, and our staff will do our best to put our players in position to succeed. And ultimately, these guys have been the ones that have pulled through and done this, and that's what we'll continue to do this weekend.
Any things that you were looking forward to in North Carolina, by the way, outside of the baseball? I know you don't get a lot of downtime, but we get here last night. Got a team dinner tonight. Any fair or anything that you're looking to take part of here in North Carolina?
I hadn't really, honestly, I haven't been to Chapel Hill before, so this is a first. I really have admired their ballpark from afar for years and years, so awesome setting. We were out there for practice today. I don't know, if I ever got an extra spare minute or two, I'd like to see the basketball museum that I hear a lot about. Michael Jordan is my all-time favorite athlete, so his roots run pretty deep here in North Carolina, so I don't know that we'll have time for that, but this is an awesome opportunity to be here and to continue to compete.
Coach, always appreciate the time. Go get it tomorrow.
All right, appreciate it.
We got more coming up in Sports Nightly. Coming up next.
Your Midwest Ford dealers believe value should drive everything we do. And with employee pricing, you pay what we pay. For 11 days only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon, the deals are even bigger. Get employee pricing on Ford's best-selling trucks and SUVs. But hurry, this value-driven offer is only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon. Get employee pricing and 0.9% APR plus $3,000 cash on a Ford F-150. But hurry, it all ends June 2nd. Go to your Midwest Ford dealers today. Driven by value. Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Not All Companies proudly supports the Huskers Radio Network. As a full-service leader in commercial real estate, we create thriving communities. Discover what's new in the Builders District in North Downtown, Not All Hospitality's latest venture in Exarban Village, and the contemporary living of row house townhomes on Leavenworth. We're welcoming world-class concepts from men's fashion and great eats to gorgeous homes and green spaces, all professionally managed by Not All Services. These are the Not All Companies, building a better Nebraska. For more information, check us out on Facebook and Instagram.
Dear Truckin' Awesome. Want more horsepower in the stable? The Tundra iForce Max is the most powerful Tundra ever. With its electrifying twin-turbo V6, you got everything you need. Saddle up the Tacoma TRD Pro. Its segment-first performance seats are designed to smooth out the shocks when the ride gets bumpy. The Toyota 4Runner is part mean streak, part wild side, and an all-around icon. Check out that signature power rear window, will ya? Yes, sir, Toyota trucks. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers. Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, Village Point Toyota of Omaha, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, or Baxter Toyota of Lincoln.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
In the game of life, we all step up to the plate. Sometimes it feels like we're facing a curveball with no clear path. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the ninth inning. Reach out, speak up, and let's strike out life's challenges together. Because we're more than players, we're a resilient community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every swing, every slide. Play ball. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. Great conversation there, Nick, with Will Bolt. By the way, Nick Hanley is in North Carolina. I'm in Oklahoma, so this is Sports Nightly, coast to coast here tonight, or I guess coast to the Midwest, all over the place here tonight. So, but great conversation there. Did you get a sense? I know he's so good at answering all the questions that you respond to him, but did you get a sense of how confident he feels about this group here going into this one tomorrow?
Yeah, I think, again, just from his overall reaction from our conversation, but when I saw him on the plane yesterday when we were boarding and everything, I think it goes back to something we were talking about before we had the Will interview on, and that is just, I think, his appreciation for what this team has gone through. And I don't want to say he's as loose as the team is. There's always a sort of locked-in mentality for Will Bolt, especially as we get closer to game time, especially on these stages. But I think he's, again, very appreciative that Nebraska was able to do just enough to get here and to get back here. And so I think just like the players, I think the head coach feels that they're a dangerous team and that they might just be peaking at the right time, and that he said something to Ben after the game on Sunday that I thought was really spot on for the way I think this team has continued to kind of carry themselves into this regional, and that is that as great of a celebration as it was Sunday for Big Ten tournament, that's not the culmination. That the story's still being written, and that their job isn't done yet, and that this is still a work trip, a business trip, if you will. So I think there's still that type of approach that he has with this, but I think there's also there's a smile or two on Coach Bolt's face right now, too, because I think he understands what these guys went through and what this coaching staff went through, too. I think people need to be appreciative of the job that coaching staff did to push the right buttons, to be able to piece things together with some of the injuries, with what Rob Childress was able to do and establishing that rotation, but also, most importantly, the back end of the rotation and what they wanted to see out of the bullpen, to get all of those things in line and be able to set the table the way that those coaches have, and Mike Sirianni and Lance Harvell and even guys like Connor Behrens and Derek Roy, the entire staff. We're not here if those guys, any one of those guys, did not do their job to the fullest.
Hey, Huskers, stop by your local Hy-Vee where they've lowered prices on thousands of the items you use every day. Hy-Vee dedicated to making your life easier, healthier, and happier. Good stuff there. We're going to talk more baseball as the show rolls along. But the last time we were together, we had some breaking news at the end of the show, and I signed off the air, and I felt like I was like, man, I sounded a little angry there. But Jordy Paul was not voted as the USA Softball Player of the Year, but she has won an NFCA Player of the Year, and very deservedly so. So I got a couple text messages like, I didn't realize. I mean, I felt like I tried to keep it, but I was a little mad. But I'm glad the NFC that she ended up getting a Player of the Year award, because if anybody's deserving of a Player of the Year award, it's shorty ball.
Yeah, and I think you and I talked about this after the show, that this had a little bit more factor into not only the totality of the regular season, but also the postseason. And you and I were both in agreement that if you're going to factor all those things in, tell me somebody who had a better season than Jordy Ball, especially the way that she performed right to the very last out of Nebraska's postseason run all the way to a super regional. So I think, and this is no disrespect to anybody else that was up for that award. I just think that Jordy Ball, regular season Jordy Ball, she was a top 3 finalist for a reason, but also postseason Jordy Ball, again, is where you got to see her showcase her ability as a multiple threat type of player against the toughest competition, but on the biggest stage as well.
You know, I opened up the segment saying Sports Center. That's what was on the TV here because it came on right after the OU-Tennessee game. And how about Tennessee knocking off Oklahoma in the Women's College World Series?
Yeah. And that was, a lot of people were talking about, hey, that could have been the matchup with Nebraska and Tennessee. And I think that there was a little bit of that disappointment from Nebraska fans of you get that first win against Tennessee and then you lose the next two, and they're just, again, I think everybody understands how successful of a season this was for Nebraska softball, but there's a little bit of that disappointment there. But then you see the team that beat, you're like, oh, wow, that's a pretty darn good team too. And look what they did against one of the most dominant softball programs here in the last decade. So, Nebraska, make no mistake about it, they lost a super regional to one of the very best in college softball.
Yeah, I feel like Pickens, when she's got her best stuff, I'm not sure many teams are going to be able to beat her.
Tough.
But I'm anxious to see how this field unfolds because, as we've heard we've had a few softball kind of analysts, people that cover the sport all across the country that have been on and we've talked to over the last couple of weeks. And it sounds like this is about as wide open as it's been for the whole 8-team field. You can go into... even with baseball, right, with the College World Series, the Women's College World Series, there might be, from year to year, different kind of storyline scenarios that play into it. But I feel like with softball over the last few years, you've gone into it knowing, okay, these are probably going to be the 2 teams that are playing for the national title. But I feel like this is the most maybe open it's been between the 8 teams in this field here to play for a national title this week.
And I think it's great for the sport.
Yes,
I would
absolutely.
Totally agree. You get the NIL involvement, but you also start getting, the transfer portal allows teams to load up a lot quicker than what they have to when they're just developing young freshmen as well. So there's a lot of factors added. But I think, ultimately at the end of the day, it's great for the sport because you don't feel like you have an SEC fatigue or an ACC or a Big 12 fatigue where you get to see some fresh teams and not just one every occasion, but you get to see multiple teams being able to make that jump into the field, which I think is always great for the sport to evolve.
I do think too, though, just again for this group, they're 11 of what did they? I saw the stats the other day. I can't recall them off the top of my head, but basically there's a lot of players coming back. I think 7 of the 9 that were in the batting lineup that were in the super regional. You're going to have to figure out what you're going to do behind the plate at catcher, who's going to catch Jordy. But, this is a group that's coming back, and I think they fully expect this. If you ask them today, they fully expect to be playing on this field here coming up a year from now.
And they should. I loved Jordy Ball's social media post. It was very on brand for Jordy Ball. It's reflective, it's perspective, but it's also a determination of the upcoming season. And I just feel like every one of those players that are coming back, they're all in lockstep of what could be in 2026, and that really could shape up to be one very special year for the softball program.
And not surprising, too. I'm sure if you've seen this here over the last couple of days, I was not surprised by this. I don't think any sport that you put up that there's basically record-breaking viewership numbers.
Yeah.
When Nebraska's attached to it, I don't think you're surprised. But ESPN PR put out a post here, I guess it was yesterday, that the NCAA softball fans tuned into Super Regionals last week. The Vol softball, Husker softball delivered right under 1 million viewers, ESPN's 4th best Super Regional game all time, but it was the most watched Super Regional game of the weekend. I don't know if any of us are surprised at this point by that kind of stat coming out about Husker sports.
Were they able to tally all the fans that were watching at Charles Schwab Field that Friday night while we were waiting?
They should. That should factor into it for sure.
That might have got them over 1 million right there.
There's no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it. But I think that's going to continue to hopefully, as we talked about with Jordy, maybe push some folks to put this softball program on a bigger scale and have them on a more of a, I guess, a bigger stage where you can put them, because the viewership's going to be there basically. So when we talk about Jordy maybe being maybe gypped a little bit, I guess, on winning player of the year, I think personally, my opinion only, is that maybe it's because she didn't have as big of a stage as some of the other players, and just with what the TV broadcast kind of opportunities look like. But maybe if again with every kind of number like this that comes out to show, like, hey, people are going to tune into Nebraska softball, maybe they'll put them on the TV broadcast.
I think the conference, this is the one thing that I will say for the Big Ten Conference. We saw the Caitlin Clark effect with Iowa and the conference really gravitating to it. Now, mind you, it's one player there, but they really started gravitating to that and that story and really trying to push it and trying to make more marquee slots for Iowa basketball to be seen in a lot of more readily available slots and even primetime slots. And I think there's a little bit of that with a player like Jordy Baldwin. She's someone that obviously is, just not the best on her team, but one of the best in the country, that you want to showcase that. And so I hope the conference looks at that and understands. I like the efforts that they made this year of doing those Saturday, Sunday, Monday series where the Big Ten Network could showcase that. But let's see some more primetime matchups. Let's see some of that's on the Big Ten Network too, because I think you're right. I think when you have players in your conference that are special, and you not only want to highlight them, but the teams and the potential run that those teams are on, I think you got to get on that a little bit earlier than, say, May. I think you want to see that as conference play gets underway in late March. So I'm hoping that maybe that hype can create more primetime opportunities for Husker softball to be seen on Big Ten Network and on that type of main stage.
Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. All right, got to get to our final break here of hour number 1. We're back to wrap up first hour of Sports Nightly coming up right after this.
Your Midwest Ford dealers believe value should drive everything we do. And with employee pricing, you pay what we pay. For 11 days only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon, the deals are even bigger. Get employee pricing on Ford's best-selling trucks and SUVs. But hurry, this value-driven offer is only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon. Get employee pricing and 0.9% APR plus $3,000 cash on a Ford F-150. But hurry, it all ends June 2nd. Go to your Midwest Ford dealers today. Driven by value.
No need to hunt around for friendly service, low prices, quality products, and great experiences. You'll find it all with the local experts, Sapp Brothers Petroleum. If you're tired of tracking down another late delivery, it's time to consider Sapp Brothers, where we pride ourselves on delivering products on time or even ahead of schedule. With your safety our top priority. Switching is easy. Just shoot us an email or get us a call. And right now, when you contact Sapp Brothers for any of your fuel, propane, or lubricant needs, you'll be entered to win a guided pheasant hunt next fall. Visit sappbros.net/Huskers.
In the game of life, we all step up to the plate. Sometimes it feels like we're facing a curveball with no clear path. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the 9th inning. Reach out, speak up, and let's strike out life's challenges together. Because we're more than players, we're a resilient community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every swing, every slide. Play ball. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Make every drive exceptional with Woodhouse Hyundai. Lease the 2025 Hyundai Elantra Hybrid SEL for just $397 per month. And when you shop Woodhouse Hyundai, you can rest easy with Hyundai Owner's Assurance, America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Visit us online at woodhousehyundai.com or woodhouseplacehyundai.com today. 36-month, 10,000 miles per year with approved credit. Tax, title, license extra. First payment and $299 doc fee due at signing. Stock number H250451. Offer expires 6/2/2025. See dealer for details.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. Final segment here. Just got a couple minutes left here in this hour. I promise I've been saying it for the last hour. We're going to talk some football because we do have some kickoff times. But we've just had some ball bat sports. That's what the season is, right? But I did misspeak earlier. Oklahoma ended up, they just end up making magic happen here. It's obviously it's basically the equivalent of when Nebraska plays at Charles Schwab Field here in Oklahoma City, but they come back, they walk off Tennessee. I still think Tennessee could do some damage, though, if Carolyn Pickens pitches the way she pitched. But Oklahoma ends up making some magic happen and walks off Tennessee in the bottom of the 7th.
Well, and talking about home field advantages, I know that's not where Oklahoma always plays, but the type of crowd that they generate there in Oklahoma City, where you are right now, I think we know that it is a kind of a similar story as far as what Nebraska has gone through too. Even though not at Haymarket Park, but at Charles Schwab Field, you get those types of environments that it becomes, even to the very last out, a very tall order for the opposition to close it out. And obviously Tennessee learned that.
Hey, Huskers, stop by your local Hy-Vee where they've lowered prices on thousands of the items you use every day. Hy-Vee dedicated to making your life easier, healthier, and happier. Got a little less than a minute left here, but Nick, you swung them today. We're going to have an update on your golf game. I know the guys in the chat will be paying close attention to your updated handicap score after today.
Yeah, there could be a video that comes out too. Because, yeah, we had one of the members with the video crew, Jackson Vetter, who does awesome work, by the way. He was with us, and this course was beautiful. Findlay, it's the North Carolina home course for the Tar Heels. It was gorgeous, and I was told that it's pretty tough, and it was, but all three of us, I thought, we put up respectable numbers. I was happy. I shot an 82 there, so that was better than I hoped, and so I was extremely happy with that. And, yeah, that'll be posted on the GIN handicap, so I know guys like Dr. Shane can make sure that they're keeping tabs, but it was a pretty solid round. I was very happy about it.
Great stuff. Hour number 2 of Sports Nightly just ahead.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Neese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while lowering emissions and improving land and water use. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
Your Nebraska Lottery has a monopoly on fun. Actually, it's our new $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket, and it's also part of a terrific second chance promotion. Until July 22nd, enter any non-winning $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket online for a chance to be one of 10 weekly winners of $1,000 or the grand prize of $10,000. Pass go and enter today. $5 Monopoly 10X top prize odds 1 in 114,000. Monopoly is a trademark of Hasbro. Hasbro is not a sponsor of this promotion.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your basement and damaging your home. Mold, cracks, and of course visible water are just a few signs your basement is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Hey there, Jake Schrantz with you for our Sports Ticker, brought to you by the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services. Starting with Nebraska tennis, the Huskers signed former 5-star recruit Conley Wright as a transfer from the University of Tennessee. Her freshman year concluded just a while ago, and the new Husker tallied over 30 combined wins with the Volunteers, reaching an Elite 8 finish at the 2025 NCAA Tennis Championships. The Atlanta, Georgia native comes to Lincoln with 3 years of eligibility as well. As the Husker football season draws closer and closer, some of the kickoff times have been announced for Nebraska's 2025 season. The new announcement from the Big Ten Conference includes a date change, as the Huskers game at Minnesota has been moved to Friday, October 17th. Kickoff times and television information are now set for 6 of the Big Red's 12 games this fall, including 4 of Nebraska's 7 home games. The Huskers open the season on Thursday, August 28th, against Cincinnati at Arrowhead Stadium at 8 p.m. For more info on the newly announced dates, check out Huskers.com. Call a timeout. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is there. Call, text, or chat 988. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Let's take it to Hour 2 of Sports Nightly right here on the Huskers Radio Network.
Coming to you live from Memorial Stadium, it's Sports Nightly. All the Huskers, all the time. Sports Nightly is presented to you by the NDOT Highway Safety Office, who remind you to buckle up and put the phone down.
Here we go. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Dice has the sign. He collects the 3-2 pitch. Strike 3 call. Casey Dice finishes it for Nebraska. The dog pile is on. The Nebraska Cornhuskers have run the table and run it back. Back-to-back Big Ten tournament champions. With the guardian angel watching over this team, Nebraska runs through the field here in Omaha and have earned themselves a regional bid. Nebraska knocks off their second-ranked opponent in as many days. The Cornhuskers shut out the 13th-ranked Bruins 5-0 after 8 masterful innings from Ty Horn.
Now, here are your hosts, Jessica Coody and Nick Hanley, on the Huskers Radio Network.
And welcome back, hour number 2 of Sports Nightly. I'm Jessica Coody with Nick Hanley. We're both on location here tonight. I'm in Oklahoma. Nick Hanley is with the baseball team as they get set to take on Oklahoma in regional action coming up tomorrow in their first game of the regional. Nick, we were talking a little bit before the break happened, and I feel like I kind of didn't give you enough time to shine, but you had a pretty good day golfing, and I know that the guys in the chat will be eager to hear about your golf game and how that updates your overall handicap score, which continues to improve this summer.
Yeah, sometimes you just wake up and you've got it. That's just that. I mean, I'm just going to put it in summation of the day that that I had at the course. Sometimes it's just you're connected to the course. We had rental clubs, by the way, too.
Wow.
I feel like that's worth a few strokes right there. But I knew it was going to be a good day because the golf fit. We got down in the lobby getting ready to take off for the golf course, and pitching coach Rob Childers just looked at me and he said, I'm rolling with Nick because look at that outfit right there. That thing is about 5 strokes right there. So you guys are going down, and I think ultimately that's what I ended up winning by, like right around 5 strokes. So
wow. So you had the fit all decked out today.
Well, it was funny because I had what I brought with me. I had a couple different polos, and I realized the first polo I put on with the hat was actually very North Carolina looking. It kind of had the Carolina blue. I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. So I had a very cool, because it's got to be good to our sponsor, or our Nebraska sponsor, Adidas. I had a really cool Adidas polo. It's kind of pink, actually. So I went with that and the khaki Adidas golf shorts, and let her rip. And it was a good day. It was a good day, of course.
It's one of those feelings, I feel like, when you say you have it. It's like when shooters say that it's like throwing it into the ocean. had that. It's like the best feeling in the world. You just, hey, it's my day today. I'm sorry. I just know I'm going to be delivering here today.
Well, and so we were actually looking at the card, and Ben said, he goes, I think you broke 80. I said, I'm close. I'm pretty close because I had 2 birdies in the back 9, and none of us really had any blow-up holes either. And so as I was tallying and I got right to the last hole, I'm like, oh, God, I just went over 80, but it was 82, which I still am very happy because that course, that is not an easy thing to do, especially playing your first time. And I thought the clubs were actually pretty nice, but when they're not your clubs, too, there's a little bit of feeling out process there, too.
Oh, for sure, yeah. That's impressive that you're able to do that without your own clubs.
Yeah, I was very happy with that. Now, I go back there tomorrow with my own clubs and probably shoot a 95, so who the heck knows?
Like my dad would never do that. He'd rather not play golf than play with not his clubs.
Yeah.
He's very particular about his bag.
Yeah, I understand that. I do.
But, hey, I'm glad you guys got the opportunity to do that. It's kind of long because the team has to travel with the postseason a lot, and you have some time to kill, you got to practice, but there's still a lot of time to kill, so I'm glad you guys were able to get out there and swing a little bit. How'd Ben play? We'll want to know. I guarantee you they'll want to know.
Ben played good, too. Ben was, he was kind of handling multiple duties. He was doing some radio. He did a radio interview while on the course. And so I think he was a little distracted on the front 9. But he and Jackson, they finished real strong down the stretch as well. So we all walked away pretty happy with our effort. And I know we're kind of joking around about the significance of the golf, but it's things like this when you do have the day to kill, and it was right before the practice today, this afternoon, and it's another opportunity to just stay engaged with this team the way that they've always embraced us. I know Greg had asked me this question when he had introduced me on Sports Nightly as stepping back in to the baseball role. And I think you asked the question as well of, what did you miss the most, or what are you looking forward to the most? And it's just a special group of people to be around with this traveling party. I mean, everyone from Dennis LeBlanc, who's with us. Everybody who knows Dennis knows that they're just. He's just an absolute class act individual. I mean, he is. I just don't know of a better person than Dennis. The coaching staff are fantastic. They're old. I mean, they treat you like you're part of the team and part of the family. And I mean, from the academic advisors, to Katie Jewell, to everyone that's with us on these trips, you get to talk to them in the downtime. You get to know a little bit more about them. You get to learn more about their families and stuff. It's great. And you just feel like you're part of the family and part of everything that's going on. It does make you feel special.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to talk more baseball here coming up, including Nick had a conversation with Ty Horn, the hero of Sunday's championship win. So we'll hear that coming up here in just a few minutes. We did want to dive into the football kickoff times. We heard this week that we were expecting to hear some times. Dr. Troy Dannon, he said that on Tuesday night that we would know. It's 6 of the 12 games have been set. And again, you're seeing, I still think it's pretty cool to see that CBS logo next to some of these. But again, with Fox, FS1, you're just seeing some of those, which is important for this program. And Coach Foles talked about this too, but to get those primetime kind of opportunities and that 2:30 kickoff on CBS against Michigan, that's going to be their number one game, the number one game, and how they pick it too determines. So I think that's big for the program. But I guess the big thing when you look at the schedule, the date change, and so the Huskers go to Maryland on Saturday, October 11th, and then they have to turn around and then play the Friday night game at Minnesota at 7 o'clock. That was the one thing that kind of went, that's not the most ideal, I guess, situation. You talk about going on the road to Maryland, which is not an easy place to travel, and then having a short week. It's not easy anyways when you go from a Saturday to a Friday. It just changes up the rhythm of everything, of an entire game. Football is so structured where it's the same every single day. But so you're losing a day of preparation, but then it's back-to-back travel games, and then on top of that, it's to Maryland, which is not an easy place to travel either.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you knew Nebraska, again, was probably going to be on a Friday night game. They weren't going to host for a while after hosting last year against Illinois, but when you're looking at all of the different games that kind of reeked Friday night road game, I thought it actually could have been the Maryland game itself. I was looking at the Maryland one, thinking that, okay, I could sit and go to College Park on that Friday as opposed to going to College Park on a Saturday and coming to Minnesota on a Friday. But we saw the last time Minnesota hosted Nebraska, that was to kick off the season on a Thursday night. So it feels like they haven't played at TCF Bank Stadium on a Saturday in a very long time. So we'll wait again for a couple of years before that happens. But I think there's the good and the bad with it, because there's part of me that wishes some of those Friday night games that you come off of a bye week, and now that shortens your bye week by one day, I understand that, but you also gain an extra day in preparation for the following week when you play on Friday. So I don't actually hate the idea of teams coming off of a bye week and playing that Friday game, knowing that, okay, again, it cuts the full bye week short a day, but you also get a jump start. So, it's for Nebraska, they understand it. I think Troy Dan understands it too, that they're always going to be a draw for that Friday night game because of the type of audience that they command, and that they're able to, the eyeballs and the numbers that they're able to draw in. So the Big Ten and all the major networks are going to look at Nebraska. How do we get them involved in a Friday? Obviously, they don't want to keep hosting or host every year, but we still got to keep them involved in a Friday night game. And I think you look at when we had the old divisions, Minnesota and Nebraska were kind of building up a little bit of a rivalry. I wouldn't say, traditional rivalry or anything, but there was a little back and forth going on between those two teams, and they had got at each other since Nebraska's been in the Big Ten. So to me, it does make a little bit of sense if you're not only going to put that game on the Friday night stage, but also make it with a team that I think a lot of people were familiar seeing playing on a regular basis to try to draw some more attention to that time slot.
And listen, like the Big Ten and Fox especially made a big push last year that they wanted to kind of capitalize on that Friday night game being one of, if not the only game that's on, and it's on Big Fox. It's not like Fox Sports 1. Right. It's on Fox. So it was, and their ratings were really, really good, and most Big Ten teams are going to play on that Friday night. It's inevitable. I do know that, and Troy has said this too in conversations that he's had on our show, that he was going to recommend to the Big Ten that Nebraska not play those Friday night home games anymore. But it is, you're right. I mean, it's inevitable that most Big Ten teams, you're going to have a Friday night game on your schedule. I'm with you. I wish it was not just, I guess, in the exact spot that it was in for this season.
Yeah, they should have. I think if you looked at it, if it was that Maryland game, you'd be coming off of a home game against Michigan State. Then you would be, bumping that up a little bit early. And again, I think if it's not for a bye week, being able to come from a home game into a road Friday game to me makes more sense as opposed to doing back-to-back road games to where you're on the road one week and then you lose a day in preparation getting ready for another game. I get it with charter flights. You get back pretty quickly after games, but it's one less day, and that road travel, Jessica, because you travel with them. Yeah, I mean, it happens fast. You get back, and then all of a sudden you're right back on the road again. So hopefully that will have no ill effects. I understand the idea behind getting Nebraska in the primetime slot, but I'm with you. I just wish maybe it was the Maryland game coming off of a home game as opposed to the Minnesota game at Minnesota coming off of an away game at Maryland.
Listen, I guess it could be worse. You could be working Washington, USC, or UCLA, traveling to Maryland and then to Minnesota. But that's kind of one of the benefits of Nebraska kind of being in the middle, but it's still not an easy trip to make. All right, the other thing that I really like to see was the Akron game was a 6:30 kick, and so having a night game, a lot of times, sometimes those kind of non-conference games at the beginning are not always those night games, so you get an opportunity at home to get those recruits in to experience that night game feel. And it is my favorite thing, Nick, one of my favorite things, I should say, to take in the first night game experience for the new players that get to experience Nebraska at night for the first time. It's just unmatched. And so you get one of those early games under the lights here to get the season going.
Well, absolutely. And this, obviously, it's the home opener. Not every Nebraska fan that would be there on a regular Saturday in Lincoln is going to be able to make it out to Arrowhead on that Thursday night against Cincinnati, and you don't have the same type of stadium amenities that you're used to. But at Memorial Stadium. And, we forget it's Cincinnati's home game at Arrowhead Stadium, so it's not like they're going to be rolling out the red carpet to make it a home-friendly environment for Nebraska, essentially, as well. It just feels you get that light show after the third quarter. You get all those different things that are going to give you goosebumps. And so, anytime you can get a night game early, especially when the weather is nice and warm, you're able to take advantage of that. The other one that stood out to me, too, and it feels right because I think it's a helmet game. There's no question, and I'd like to think that both teams are going to be pretty darn good this year too, between Michigan and Nebraska. But more than anything, it's a blue blood game, and having that in the 2:30 CBS slot, that's pretty awesome.
Huge, yeah.
I think that's so awesome.
Yeah, that was one of the things that really stood out to me. I mean, those networks are going to put the biggest games that they can. So the fact that and there might be more games that Nebraska is on some of those primetime slots. The rest of it is a lot of it is TBA and determines the matchups and how the season unfolds. I mean, there could be a lot more on the line between some of these teams, not just against Nebraska, but for the entire conference. Different games will have different things on the line moving forward. But I love seeing that. That was one of the things that really jumped out to me. That's what I said when I was opening this up. That seeing that CBS logo next to that Michigan at Nebraska game, that's pretty epic.
Yeah, and it reminds me of even when the ABC had the big, and I know they still do to an extent, but the big 2:30 games, and you'd have Keith Jackson doing it back when Nebraska was in the Big 12. There was just something about that time slot on national TV that just gave you that feel of a major game, a major collision between two teams, and so I think that signifies that a little bit. And then, of course, getting back to the Black Friday game, speaking of CBS having that 11 a.m. kickoff on the Black Friday game in Lincoln with Iowa, I think that is also going to be interesting from the simple fact that you get that game early in the day as people are getting ready to kind of set their weekend for college football. You get that to kind of set the tone on the big stage again for Nebraska and Iowa and CBS. So I like that. The other one I'm keeping an eye on, obviously we won't know that until the season gets underway. I would circle that November 1st matchup with USC in Lincoln. That could potentially be one of those late in the season potential under the light type of matchups too, where you might have a night game with USC in Nebraska in Lincoln on November 1st if both teams do their part and are primetime worthy.
I haven't looked as far ahead to see the matchups on the days that could be competing. I also wouldn't be surprised if Fox tried to put it on their big noon kickoff either.
Yeah, very true.
All right, good stuff there. Always exciting. It feels closer when you start getting these times, right?
Yep.
All right, well, we're going to step aside. We're going to talk more baseball coming up. Nick had a chance to catch up with Ty Horn there in North Carolina, so we're going to hear that conversation coming up next. Keep it here on Sports Nightly, and Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with the home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
Your Midwest Ford dealers believe value should drive everything we do. And with employee pricing, you pay what we pay. For 11 days only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon, the deals are even bigger. Get employee pricing on Ford's best-selling trucks and SUVs. But hurry, this value-driven offer is only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon. Get employee pricing and 0.9% APR plus $3,000 cash on a Ford F-150. But hurry, it all ends June 2nd. Go to your Midwest Ford dealers today. Driven by value. Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
In the game of life, we all step up to the plate. Sometimes it feels like we're facing a curveball with no clear path. Call, text, or chat 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's free, confidential, and staffed with trained counselors ready to listen and provide support. Don't wait for the ninth inning. Reach out, speak up, and let's strike out life's challenges together. Because we're more than players, we're a resilient community. Remember, in times of need, call a timeout. Call, text, or chat 988. It's okay to ask for help. We're here for you. Every swing, every slide. Play ball. Presented by Nebraska DHHS.
Your Nebraska Lottery has a monopoly on fun. Actually, it's our new $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket, and it's also part of a terrific second chance promotion. Until July 22nd, enter any non-winning $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket online for a chance to be one of 10 weekly winners of $1,000 or the grand prize of $10,000. Pass go and enter today. $5 Monopoly 10X top prize odds 1 in 114,000. Monopoly is a trademark of Hasbro. Hasbro is not a sponsor of this promotion.
Find the perfect blend of elegance and innovation at Infiniti of Omaha. Lease the 2025 Infiniti QX60 pure all-wheel drive for just $599 per month. Enjoy sophisticated design, groundbreaking technology, and a luxurious ride that redefines what's possible. Explore online at infinityofomaha.com or visit our showroom today. 36 months, 10,000 miles per year with approved credit. Tax, title, license extra for well-qualified returning Infiniti lessees. First payment plus $999 down, $299 doc fee due at signing. Security deposit waived. VIN number SC358858. Offer expires June 2nd, 2025. See dealer for details.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
If there's one thing Nebraska's known for, it's our beef. And Nebraska soybeans feed a lot of them, and even more pigs and chickens.
I'm Jason Pinky, a farmer near Craig, Nebraska. Soybeans are vital for feeding our livestock, and they're also a powerhouse protein source for people worldwide. Our world needs protein, and Nebraska soybeans are making a difference.
From tailgate grills to global plates, farmers deliver affordable, nutritious protein to build muscle and energy for everyone. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Welcome back, Sports Nightly here on a Thursday night. The one more sleep until the NCAA tournament gets underway. Nebraska will be taking on Oklahoma, and excited to be talking to Ty Horn, who was fantastic in that Big Ten championship game against UCLA, 8 innings. And Ty, first of all, I want to start with just kind of going back to the emotions, because I mean, that's just your style. You'll get into the game, and you can kind of feel when there are some big outs that you record, but take me just through everything you were feeling from start to finish in that performance.
Obviously, like going into the game, I was a little frustrated with my performance in the beginning of the week, but yeah, it was just like it was very emotional, because it was like every pitch meant something in my mind, and like it was more of I was taking things slower than I did the first outing, and that was kind of my main goal with that.
I remember we went back to that 11 days out in L.A. and you're pitching against UCLA. There was a moment, and Jared Meister, the SID, we're in the same booth, and we're watching you go at a rapid pace. And you had some early success against UCLA out there in L.A., and we were kind of looking at each other like for a moment like, oh, my gosh, he is just going super fast. What dictates just when you're getting it and going, what you're feeling, what you're seeing on the type of pace that you want to go at a hitter with?
So with the new rules, we have 20 seconds, and the hitter has to have their head up, I think, at 8 seconds. But what UCLA does really well is like they'll slow down a pitcher if they can. And a kid like Rock is a good player, and he's going to look like you see a lot of them look back, like not look at the pitcher when they're in the box just to give them time. But as soon as they're going to look, I'm going to go, because I think I saw this thing on the internet saying that like if the hitter has less than 30 seconds to think about what just happened, they're not going to think about like what's coming next.
At what point on Sunday did it kind of click where you're like, all right, this might be, I don't even know if it translates, this might be a special outing, but you got your stuff working?
I think when Robbie made that catch in the gap, I think it was kind of like just setting the tone, because he obviously saved me a couple pitches from him catching that ball. Sadly enough, he got hurt, but I think just from there on out, it was kind of just, I think I can dominate this lineup from there.
This team has seen, and you yourself have seen, so many great lineups. We've seen teams that slug. We've seen teams that are aggressive on the base path, teams that hit with good contact. I feel like between you and the entire staff, there's really nothing at this point of the season that a team's going to throw at you where you feel like, okay, we haven't seen this?
Yeah, so especially like week 1, we got tested very early in the season, especially like with Vandy, LSU, Oregon State even, and then on the big old road trip in California, because USC, credit to UCLA and USC, they're both very good ball clubs, and they're both in regionals too. So like, yeah, I think just the beginning of the season set it up to where we aren't going to flinch when we see lineups like that come at us.
How did you, I mean, you're obviously at the end of your rope there in the 8th inning. You're sharing hugs with the guys. The moment's probably starting to set in a little bit, but I'm sure that competitor in you probably tried to at least sell one more inning. What was that whole just experience like?
Oh, yeah, so it was awesome. I came off the mound after he caught the ball. I kind of took a deep breath after he caught it and looked at Coach, gave him the one more sign, and he's shaking his head no. I'm like, all right. I didn't know how many pitches I was at, but then he told me, like, congrats, the 120 pitches. And then, well, before I got in the dugout, Carey's like, you're going to finish this thing. But, yeah, he told me I was done shortly after that, so it was fun, though.
We saw this in the last handful of starts from you, too. It always seemed like that the first and second inning, as long as the pitch count was at a certain level, as long as you were below a certain level, we would really start to see those complementary pitches on top of the fastball working, like other than the fastball, but the breaking ball and the changeup. Is that something that kind of came in time this year where you were really able to use those as sort of overpowering pitches there further in and outing?
Yeah, so me and the coaches, we talked. We always knew that, like, my pitches were good. It was just a matter of, like, when to throw them and sequencing them, and I think we finally got in cue this last half of the season. And the cutter is kind of been my main breaking ball pitch, and that's what we've been throwing more often. I think I threw 40 or 50 of them on Sunday, and that's kind of just what's been clicking.
I want to go back to, I think it was his last at-bat that you would have had with Rock Chalowski. It was, if I'm not mistaken, the first out of that inning, but it did have a runner on base. You know that if he's able to reach or even be able to drive the ball, all of a sudden they feel like they got a little offensive momentum. Mindset against a guy like Rock Chalowski, who you'd faced before against, out in L.A. as well, but also earlier in that game and had success. What's going through your mind? What are you trying to execute in that situation?
Yeah, so me and Coach talked before the game. He's only seen 12 right-on-right changeups all year, and he's struggled against it. So I don't really understand why teams aren't like forcing that pitch on him, and that's what we just did, and it worked. But like obviously you can't do it 4 times in a row against a hitter like that because he's a very good hitter. But it was a very emotional pitch because especially the at-bat before that, I walked the kid on time limit, so that was a little frustrating, and Coach was very frustrated about that too. But yeah, it was a big pitch, and it put us 1 pitch away to get out of the inning, so it was great.
When did you have a chance to soak in not only what this team did on Sunday, but what you accomplished too? Because obviously, really a huge part of what took place on Sunday. At what point did you have a chance to just soak it in?
I think like as soon as the outing was done, I kind of didn't realize like I just went 8 innings, no runs, and I mean, I'm not really thinking about that while I'm pitching, but I went and sat out in the dugout or in the bullpen with all the guys because they always congratulate me and I shake everybody's hand. All the pitchers do that, but I kind of just sat down on the bench and I just looked at the field and I was like, wow, that was fun.
What has this season for you meant? Because I remember talking to Rob Childress before the season. Ben and I and David were sitting down talking to the coaches, and their eyes light up when they talk about you and what you can be for this staff. I'm curious what the goals you had going in and talking with Rob, but also where you feel like you've really turned the corner on the type of pitcher that you want to be.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, the cutter, like we use it in the first half of the season, but like it wasn't like one of my out pitches. It was kind of just to get me over cutter, and it was 83, 84, but it started to click a little bit, and then it's like 87, 88 now, and it's getting under hands, and it's better against left-handed hitters mainly because it's a rollover pitch, it's an out pitch, and yeah, that's kind of just what he's like preached to me this whole time.
Was there ever a goal with amount of wins, ERA, or just any way that you personally would try to detect success for this season for you, and especially what was a big growth year for you?
I wouldn't say anything like that. Honestly, if there was a stat that I pay attention to, it's WHIP, it's walks, hits per inning pitch, and I think that's a very important stat just because like you're able to limit how many runners you let on base per inning, and that's kind of what our whole team looks at mostly if we do look at a stat.
Talk with Ty Horn, and Ty will, boy, could be a potentially big game when you get on the mound again, but I know you have a lot of confidence in Jackson Brockett and this team as well. You guys enter this regional where I think the question is, there's a lot of talk about Oklahoma pitching off, trying to set themselves up for what they would think would be a game against North Carolina. But it just seems like this team is just starting to get started right now, especially with what happened last week. But also if you go back to the last 5 Big Ten series where you guys have won, and you've been a big part of that too. What is it about this team right now that you think makes Nebraska real dangerous?
I think there's a lot of things, but one thing in particular is just our ability to play together, because we weren't able to play together like in the first half of the season. Like our hitters would hit good one game, we'd score 8 runs, but our pitchers would find a way to give up 9 or 10, and vice versa. The next game, pitchers would give up 2 runs, hitters wouldn't score. But I think we're just playing really well together, and it's everything's clicking, so it's fun.
And lastly, just the emotions of this season, and you kind of talked about a little bit before the season, things are kind of not necessarily meshing and everything with that nature, and who knows where everyone thought this season might go. But here you are back where I know you guys had set the goal to be here at the NCAA tournament and a chance to go on a run. We heard Riley Silva say, heck yeah, we're ready to go on a run. Just not only as a guy that is a weekend rotation guy, but also, one of several guys on this team that really wanted to see the season get to this point. What are those emotions now that you guys were able to figure it out and get it clicked in the right time?
Yeah, for sure. I think obviously at the beginning of the season, goal is to host a super regional or host a regional, but obviously halfway through the season we kind of realized that's not going to happen. So our goal was just to play together, and we kind of, like last year we were pretty content with just making a regional, and like after the regional, like, oh, that was so cool, that was fun. But I think we have much more in the chamber than just being in a regional. I think super regional is definitely a goal for us right now.
That's impressive stuff. Arm feeling good? I mean, you put in the work on Sunday. Here we are on a Thursday. Everything good though? Ready to go when needed?
I feel great, yeah.
All right, that is, again, Ty Horn, outstanding stuff. Got the win against UCLA for Nebraska, the Big Ten championship. We'll see him this weekend, hopefully, in maybe a winner's bracket game. More coming up on Sports Nightly. Stick around.
Elevate your drive in your new vehicle from Woodhouse Lincoln. Explore our current offers going on now. Lease the 2025 Lincoln Aviator for $998 a month for 36 months and 10,500 miles per year. Shop in store at 144th and Giles Road or online at woodhouselincoln.com. With approved credit, tax, title, license extra, security deposit waived, $3,000 down payment plus first payment and $299 doc fee due at sign-in. VIN number 5LM5J7XC2SGL13016. Offer expires May 31st, 2025. See dealer for details.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
Noddle Companies proudly supports the Huskers Radio Network. As a full-service leader in commercial real estate, we create thriving communities. Discover what's new in the Builders District in North Downtown, Noddle Hospitality's latest venture in Exarban Village, and the contemporary living of row house townhomes on Leavenworth. We're welcoming world-class concepts from men's fashion and great eats to gorgeous homes and green spaces, all professionally managed by Noddle Services. These are the Noddle Companies, building a better Nebraska. For more information, check us out on Facebook and Instagram.
Dear Truckin' Awesome. Want more horsepower in the stable? The Tundra iForce Max is the most powerful Tundra ever. With its electrifying twin-turbo V6, you got everything you need. Saddle up the Tacoma TRD Pro. Its segment-first performance seats are designed to smooth out the shocks when the ride gets bumpy. The Toyota 4Runner is part mean streak, part wild side, and an all-around icon. Check out that signature power rear window, will ya? Yes, sir, Toyota trucks. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
See your Omaha Metro and Lincoln Toyota dealers. Corwin Toyota of Bellevue, Village Point Toyota of Omaha, Baxter Toyota of La Vista, or Baxter Toyota of Lincoln.
Your Nebraska Lottery has a monopoly on fun. Actually, it's our new $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket, and it's also part of a terrific second chance promotion. Until July 22nd, enter any non-winning $5 Monopoly 10X scratch ticket online for a chance to be one of 10 weekly winners of $1,000 or the grand prize of $10,000. Pass go and enter today. $5 Monopoly 10X top prize odds 1 in 114,000. Monopoly is a trademark of Hasbro. Hasbro is not a sponsor of this promotion.
When you're in the stands and have the ability to control your irrigation in the field, it's a game-changing moment. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Experience real-time, play-by-play action and control that keeps you ahead. Score big with irrigation technology from Valley. It's technology that improves your life and lets you be at the game and in the game. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you at nebraska-chiropractic.org. Get your life back with chiropractic.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Welcome back to Sports Nightly. A great conversation there with Ty Horn. Does he have it in him to repeat that performance he had on a Sunday night coming up at some point this week?
Man, that would be awesome if he is. I mean, how great would it be if he's in that situation in a winner's bracket game against the winner of North Carolina and Holy Cross? Because I think you're just starting to scratch the surface with Ty Horn. And we saw what took place on Sunday, a culmination of what I think it was building up to in the previous three starts, where you started to see him make it deeper and deeper into those outings when you go back in the first part of the season, where it was just trying to get out of the third inning because that pitch count would be so darn high on him that you couldn't go much further. But now, I remember it was right before the Michigan game on Saturday and what ended up being the series clincher. And Ty threw well. I remember asking Will Bolt before that game of what you wanted to see from Ty ultimately, and he said he wanted to see him going 100-plus pitches in this outing, and by doing so, he felt like if he was still in the game and 100-plus pitches, then he'd be well into the seventh inning and he'd have pretty good stuff. Well, we saw that on Sunday and some. I mean, he was over 100 pitches. He was locked and loaded, and like I had mentioned to him in our conversation, what that feeling was like, where you're probably got nothing left in the tank, but you know there's one more inning and they haven't scored a run on you, that there's that competitor in you that wants to come back out there and be able just to throw a CG and end it right there. But he understood it, obviously, that he was going to be coming out. But I think, having done that against the type of team that he did that against, and that UCLA team, and just a very strong offensive lineup that they have, I think that the confidence is sky high for him that whether he pitches in an elimination, try to save the season and keep it going type situation, or a winner's bracket game to try to put Nebraska into the driver's seat of the regional, I know he's more than equipped to handle it.
At this point in pressure situations, I feel like you love both him and Jackson Brockett in those situations. Yeah. They've both proven that those big moments they've both thrived in here these last couple of seasons.
Well, and like we were talking about with Will Bolt during his conversation with myself, they're not here without stabilizing the back end of that rotation. And with the consistency that we've seen from Jackson as of late and Ty, I thought Will Walsh was so good. While those guys were trying to find that consistency, Will Walsh was trying to piece it together, and the things that he was able, even when Will Walsh wouldn't get the result that he wanted to, or it would be tagged with the loss, he'd go deep into games, and how that set up the bullpen for the remainder of the weekend was huge and allowed Nebraska to come back and win some of those Saturday and Sunday games and win those series. So, Will Walsh was valuable on Fridays, and he's still a huge part of this staff, whether as a starter or out of the bullpen. But I don't think this team is here if they don't find that consistency from both Jackson Brockett and Ty Horn. So they're obviously going to be major factors this weekend if Nebraska is to move on.
So at this time of the year, going into the postseason, both the conference tournament and then regionals, sometimes you start to see some chess being played and maybe some pitchers that normally pitch on Friday not pitch on Friday. But I guess give us what you how you foresee this pitching matchup to look like going into this first game with Oklahoma between Nebraska and the Sooners here on Friday.
Well, it was interesting because when I talked to you early in the week, I just assumed that we were going to see Kyson Witherspoon, not his brother Malachi Witherspoon. And
there's some bulletin board material, right? Maybe a little bit.
It is a little bit, and I don't think.
Because I don't think we said this on the air, so if people might not be aware, there was something being said about the dream would be to pitch against North Carolina. Was that kind of the quote?
Yeah, that comes from their ace in Kyson Witherspoon, who's going to be a first round top draft pick. I mean, he's going to be right up there. Great stuff. He can hit triple digits. I mean, he's the real deal. And we just assumed, okay, yeah, they're going to roll him out there on Friday, and they decided to pitch off, and they're going to have Kyson Witherspoon go against what they perceive will be North Carolina beating Holy Cross. And so they're going to throw his brother Malachi, who isn't bad. I don't want to make it sound like he's some bum that's going to be serving it up for Nebraska, but his numbers are not nearly as sharp as Kyson. And he comes in with 5.53 under an average. He's 3-8 on the year, but sometimes the win-loss record for a pitcher can be deceiving, especially in the conference that you're pitching, and he's pitching in the SEC. But I think the thing that's most intriguing to me is that Malachi Witherspoon did not throw in the SEC tournament, so he's had a little bit of a layoff, some lag time. And so if you look at the recent history with Nebraska offensively here, especially when they're in Omaha, they've been getting on teams early in the game. And if you can put Oklahoma in a situation where, while Malachi Witherspoon is trying to, get reestablished, and maybe he won't need to. Maybe he's going to be great right out of the gate, and he's been rested, and he's going to be just fine. But if Nebraska can, while he's trying to maybe ease back into it, Nebraska can attack him a little bit, and all of a sudden you get to their bullpen early on, and it's feasting time. Nebraska, they've done that in these last handful of games here. So I like that opportunity for Nebraska. We'll see if it plays out that way, but I think they look at it as a little bit of disrespect. Sure, I don't know any college student athlete that wouldn't look at that situation and think, really, what about us? But I also don't think it's the sole motivating factor, or it's anything that's going to make Nebraska try to play out of the realm of what they can do physically either. I think they're just adding that to another layer of a lot of people, I think, overlooking this team and not understanding it other than the record. And you look at Nebraska's record, you're like, oh, yeah, and okay, good for them. They won the Big Ten tournament, but look at their record. Well, yeah, look at the record, but also look at what they've done in the last month. Look at what they had to do to get to the Big Ten tournament, and then look what they did in Omaha. There's something to be said about teams that come in with great records, but there's also, I think, even more so right now at this part of the season, teams that come in that are playing without question their best baseball, and we can definitely make that case for Nebraska.
Ben had brought this up last week going into the matchup against Oregon. I know you brought it up going into the tournament, but and I think you both said this maybe sounds a little cliche, and you just brought this up. Getting, in terms of the hitters, getting to their pitchers early and trying to get some things rolling early. It seems like there's a different kind of belief and confidence in this team when they get things going early on in the game.
Well, and look at some of the consistency issues that they had earlier in the year for their entire starting pitchers, because the offense didn't have as much punch, or it didn't have a lot early on, or didn't have any great responses, or I think you pump so much confidence back on the mound when you are working with a 2 or a 3 run cushion right out of the gate, or right out of the second inning you step foot on the mound and there's a crooked number up there that your offense provided you. I think it allows you to breathe a little easier. It allows you to, I think, just kind of find it a little bit more crisp if you're on the mound. So I think it works both ways. And then when you have a guy that's just dealing on the mound, like a Jackson Brockett or a Ty Horn or a Will Walsh or a Tucker Timmerman, I think that also can translate into the dugout too. Then when all of a sudden the batter's box, like, hey, our guys he's battling his butt off. Let's go out there and let's start getting him some runs too. And like Ty Horn said, I think is absolutely right about this team, is they're finally connected that way. You're finally seeing the pitching results lead to the offensive results as well. You're seeing some good clutch hitting, but you're also seeing some good clutch moments out of the bullpen. You're seeing guys come up with some big moments on the mound, whether it's a starter or a reliever. But then it's also translating into not only great offense, but also great defensive plays behind these guys, too, where it just seems like they're finally playing all at the same level, to where sometimes we'd see the pitching staff was doing really good, but then the offense didn't have much thump in it. And then when the offense was actually getting some runs, the pitchers couldn't throw a strike, and they're loading the bases, and they're getting bludgeoned that way. So I think it's finally that moment of the season that we thought we'd maybe see earlier, where this team seems a little bit more well-rounded from that standpoint.
So Jackson Brockett going to get the ball then. I guess what's kind of the keys for him in this matchup against OU?
I think for Jackson, the one thing I've really liked out of him real recently is he's just done a good job of, and I say this a lot with all of these pitchers, and I think Rob Childress would say it's their first priority, but you're establishing the strike zone so early that you're getting guys they're having to essentially hit on your terms. And so he's getting, it was amazing in that start against Oregon. There was a run where I think it was 5 batters in a row that the first pitch was over for a strike. And I don't know if he even worked anything worse than a 2-2 count on like 65% of the hitters. So from that standpoint, you're keeping your pitch count low. But again, you have the leverage in the count. You are throwing in 1-2, 0-2, 2-2 counts, where that advantage is still, from a percentage standpoint, on the mound as opposed to the batter's box. Yeah, you're going to get hit every now and then with a 2-strike count or an 0-2 or 1-2, and you make a mistake. But I just like the fact that those mistakes they've been minimal. And early in some of his starts, where he would even be in an 0-2 or a 1-2, he would leave something middle over the plate, and a team would get on him a little bit. Or then he would start to maybe press a little bit and try to be too fine on the corners, and then all of a sudden you're not getting calls, and that would compound into walking guys. So I just think the fact that he has minimized those mistakes first and foremost has been big. That's going to have to be huge tomorrow, because, again, this isn't an Oklahoma team that has a lot of slug. They're not going to bring this incredible power numbers, into this game. They have that ability to do so. But I think what Jackson saw against Oregon from an offensive standpoint and statistically, I think was a lot more intimidating than what OU has. So I just think Jackson just simply pitching his game, doing those things that he's done as of late, and that is minimize those mistakes, making sure when he's up 0-2 and 1-2 that he is getting those guys on his terms and he's not making that mistake over the plate. He's got his arm is conditioned to go long if he can do that. And again, if you're doing that, if you're not working long counts like he's been able to avoid, keeping that pitch count down, you got a chance to go pretty far in that game.
Great stuff. All right, I got a couple more things I wanted to get to, but we do need to work in our final break. We're going to come back and wrap things up here with our final segment here of Sports Nightly on the other side of this. Hey, Husker, stop by your local Hy-Vee, where they've lowered prices on thousands of the items you use every day, dedicated to making your life easier, healthier, and happier.
Your Midwest Ford dealers believe value should drive everything we do. And with employee pricing, you pay what we pay. For 11 days only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon, the deals are even bigger. Get employee pricing on Ford's best-selling trucks and SUVs. But hurry, this value-driven offer is only during the Memorial Day Sell-a-thon. Get employee pricing and 0.9% APR plus $3,000 cash on a Ford F-150. But hurry, it all ends June 2nd. Go to your Midwest Ford dealers today. Driven by value.
On game day, every play counts. Now imagine having the same level of control in your field. Valley is where farming meets end zone efficiency. With AgSense remote irrigation technology, farmers become the MVPs of their fields. Real-time, play-by-play control means you're always ahead of the game. Score big with simplified irrigation technology from Valley, improving your life both on and off the field. Find your local Valley dealer at valleyirrigation.com.
Experience a redefined car buying experience with Woodhouse Mazda. Visit the Metro's exclusive Mazda dealers and explore our exceptional lineup. Receive 1.9% APR for 36 months or 3.9% APR for 60 months on the full lineup of 2025 Mazda CX-50s and 2025 Mazda CX-50 hybrids. Visit us in-store or online at woodhousemazda.com or woodhouseplacemazda.com today. With approved credit, tax title license extra, and financed through Mazda Financial Services. $299 doc fee due at signing. Offer expires 5/31/25. See dealer for details.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect that water is the reason parts of your concrete have gotten so uneven. Walkway tripping hazards, sinking pool deck, cracked driveways are dangerous threats to everyone's safety. But there's one way to learn how your concrete can be lifted. A free home inspection from Groundworks. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at groundworks.com. License number C142293.
Want to boost Nebraska's economy and help the planet? It's as easy as filling up your tank. Switch to soy-based biodiesel to cut greenhouse gases by up to 74% and support biodiesel growth.
I'm Greg Anderson, a farmer near Newman Grove, Nebraska, and biodiesel has transformed our farm. It cuts emissions, raises the cetane number, and improves fuel lubricity.
So ask for biodiesel where you fill up. It benefits our air, economy, and Nebraska soybean farmers. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
The Huskers Radio Network Broadcast Center is sponsored by Akrs, the Midwest premier John Deere dealer, supplying the equipment and service to advance agriculture and much more. Akrs, solutions for every field. Just got a couple of minutes left here on this final segment here of Sports Nightly on this Thursday evening. And again, we'll have baseball on the air coming up tomorrow night, so no Sports Nightly tomorrow night. Hey, this is my last show. I just realized, Nick, I'm going on vacation next week, which is why I'm already in Oklahoma, but I'm not even going to be on the show next week. So this is my last show for a while.
Are you doing anything overly fun?
I'm teaching swimming lessons.
Oh, that sounds great.
My mom and I do it every year, and it keeps growing, and I can't get out of it anymore. So I'm locked into it. But I get to spend some family time there while I'm down there. So, but I'm excited to be down here. I'm excited for this weekend of baseball. So we just have about 60 seconds left here. I did want to ask you before we signed off the air. I know you and Ben will dive into all things on the pregame show starting at 3:30 tomorrow, 4 o'clock first pitch. But can you give us a quick breakdown of the rest of the teams in the field? North Carolina, Holy Cross, just kind of what maybe the other opponents might look like for Nebraska moving forward, because you got to beat more than one team in a regional. Yeah, and it's interesting too, because I think there's a commonality with all these teams and their success right now. As I mentioned with Oklahoma, they don't have overpowering numbers when it comes to what they do at the plate. They're a team that is extremely quick. They get on the bases and they're going to run, and they're going to try to do a lot of things like Wilbolt talked about from first to third. Very aggressive. You look at several guys with over 15 stolen bases. So, I mean, that's Oklahoma's game. They want the run game. They want to be able to hit the ball in the gaps and get you that way. Pitching staff is very, very good, and that's the strength that they have. When I look at North Carolina, kind of similar. North Carolina's got an elite pitching staff, but also it's a team that doesn't have incredible offensive numbers. It doesn't mean they're not capable of that, because, again, just like Oklahoma playing the SEC, North Carolina playing the ACC, they have that. But it's not like they come in with the same type of numbers you saw from Oregon and UCLA. So what they're going to try to get done is on the mound, and they've got a couple of good arms that they can attack you with, and their bullpen is pretty solid. And then Holy Cross, another team. Now, they might be the most impressive base running team. They've got two guys that have more than 25 stolen bases on the year. It's a quick team. They've got two guys that they essentially feel are their ace as well. And so they're going to try to beat you with their defense and with what they do on the mound, and then they're going to try to get guys on the base path, and they're going to just try to kind of bully you that way if they can. So that's it. None of the teams in this regional really have that type of 30 home run guy, or a guy that has 100 RBI, or anybody who's OPS over 1,000. I mean, it's just they're all pretty similar from the standpoint that they're capable offensive teams, but they're not necessarily crushing the baseball at a consistent level. All right, well, we'll look forward to hearing much more from you and Ben here coming up over the next few days. Have a great call. Enjoy it, and hopefully you've got more baseball a season continuing on the next time we're back here on Sports Nightly.
All right, have a good vacation.
All right, thank you. Have a great weekend, Husker Nation.
Hit us up on the text line. Text 402-413-2400 with your Husker thoughts.
They say consistency is the key to success. They weren't wrong. So how about grabbing a beer that's consistently smooth, consistently refreshing, and consistently light? You might just find that the road to success can be pretty enjoyable. Michelob Ultra, the perfect balance of taste and refreshment, and only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
For farmers, sustainability is a way of life. 97% of farms are family-owned, and 95% are participating in conservation programs and using sustainable practices.
I'm Ann Meese, a farmer near Elgin, Nebraska. I grew up on this land, and we're dedicated to being good stewards and leaving it better for the next generation.
Since 1980, U.S. soybean farmers have boosted production by 130%, all while lowering emissions and improving land and water use. Nebraska soybeans, feeding, fueling, and innovating for the future.
What does it mean to be locally owned and operated? For Cenex, it means everything. It means that we know if you take your coffee to go or if you like to stay a while. It means we've helped Little Leagues get jerseys and local festivals get funding. It means we know what our communities need. So you'll always leave Cenex with a full tank, full of snacks, or full of smiles. Or all of the above. And that means the world to us. Cenex, powered locally.
Nebraskans are choosing chiropractic for better health. Why chiropractic? Because it's safe, drug-free, and a cost-effective treatment option for back and joint pain. Plus, all generations can benefit from natural chiropractic care. Choose chiropractic first for pain relief or to improve your mobility, athletic performance, or overall wellness. Make chiropractic your first choice for better health and find a chiropractic physician near you